are listening to Fika with Vicky on United Public Radio, 107.7 and 105.3 from New Orleans.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fika. Our guest today, visiting from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, is Barbara Venkataraman. Barbara is an attorney and moderator specializing in family law. She's also the award-winning indie author of the Quinn Mystery Series, a memoir, The Accidental Activist, Justice for the Groveland Four, which she co-wrote with her son Josh about what he learned, exonerating four men. Just have to excuse me for a minute. I was just chatting with Barbara earlier, so it's hard to get back on track here. But a memoir she co-wrote with her son Josh, exonerating four falsely convicted men of a terrible crime. There's an essay collection, short stories, flash fiction of 100 words, and a brand new, and I mean right off the press, hot, brand new young adult novel called Five Fortunes. There's also a children's fantasy in there as well. There's a quote I found in Malice in Miami, the sixth book in the Quinn Mystery Series. Jamie, the protagonist, who by coincidence is also an attorney specializing in family law, said this: "As a lawyer who relied on words for a living, I knew their power to persuade, incite, or heal." And I'm wondering if this is the secret to Barbara's writing, because her books persuade us to live in the now, but there's still some nostalgia in them as well. They incite our passion for justice, but show us that healing can be found when justice is done. In fact, when I picture Barbara writing, I picture her in front of a large board full of a huge number of words, choosing the ones she's going to use carefully. Because being a prolific writer is one thing, but being a prolific writer and good, that takes skills, word skills. Welcome to Fika, Barbara.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to talk. We talk so well, even though it messes up my beginning as I'm thinking about what we were talking about. I apologize for that. And we'll move on, shall we?
That's fine.
Okay, so the first, what I want to talk about first, because there's so many things to talk about, is your cozy mystery series, the Jamie Quinn series. And I read number 6 this weekend. It had been sitting on my Kindle, but I had read, not because, just because we all know there are many, many books. So I got it when it came out, and then life happened, and I read it last night, and I was just so, once again, entranced by the characters, and they were so familiar with me and such good friends that I have to know as a reader, before I worry about anybody else here, is there going to be a 7th?
Yes. Yes, I'm planning, my goal for this year is a 7th Jamie Quinn, and I miss them too. Everyone says I miss the gang, and I said I miss them too. And I it's a big undertaking to come up with a cozy mystery, because you need all the red herrings and all the subplots and all the side stories. But I'm definitely planning a seventh mystery this year.
And we already have a comment, a question, or is a comment sort of as a question. I'd be thrilled by the idea of Barbara Venkataraman and Carl Hyson collaborating on a book together.
Well, I'd certainly be thrilled too, but I don't know that that's in the works. But That's a very good comment because I'm influenced by Carl Hyacin. Like the fact that he writes about Florida, he writes about kooky characters who live in Florida, and he's a really keen observer of the absurd. And I always say when you're writing a Jamie Quinn mystery or anything about Florida, that's all you have to do is read the headlines, and you get lots of material.
Which is back to your writing in the now. So thank you, Nicole. And I think this is a question you have to bring up if you see Carl being interviewed somewhere. I'd like to see you collaborating with Barbara. Maybe we can make it happen. Or
Sure.
You're good with petitions, Barbara. So we can do that.
Sure.
Okay, so we know that there is going to be a 7 now, people, and that this one isn't written with Carl. But we're looking forward to the possibility of one in the future. Now, we keep saying cozy mystery, and that is sort of a sub genre of the mystery genre. What do you think? What are the rules out there for a cozy mystery, and how do you think you measure up to them? Why?
Great question. Well, a cozy mystery, actually, the phrase was coined, I think, when Murder, She Wrote came out. And it really defined, no one ever talked about cozy mysteries until then. And it defined what a cozy mystery was. And the general rules are there's no on-screen violence. There's no no sex on screen, basically, although people break these rules. And the sleuth is an amateur. It's usually a woman, and there's a small town feel to the whole story. And what's funny is if you Google cozy mystery, there's people who have one set in a chocolate shop, someone who's a pet sitter, someone who's a coffee shop, someone who's a house cleaner. They just have all these different roles and jobs, and somehow that puts them in the middle of mysteries. But the funniest thing was when I wrote my first one, Death by Didgeridoo, I just the story just popped into my head because I was learning how to play the didgeridoo, and it was a very heavy instrument. I was learning it only because I had sleep apnea and I thought it would help. And I dropped it and broke a glass table. And I thought, wow, this is a dangerous thing. So I was swinging it around, and my husband said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm trying to see if you could kill somebody with a didgeridoo." And he said, "Should I be worried?" And I was like, yeah. So then the title popped into my head, Death by Didgeridoo, and it just made me laugh. And so I thought, well, who would get killed by a didgeridoo? And I thought, how about a music teacher? And who would have done it? And I said, well, maybe his student is falsely accused of it, and it's his didgeridoo. And I just kept asking questions until I had the story. But when I finished the story and I started getting reviews, someone said, wow, this was a good cozy mystery. And I thought, oh, I guess that's what I just wrote.
So you didn't choose to write cozy mysteries. No. It was just assigned to you.
Yes. And then I said, oh, okay, that is a cozy mystery. So I added that to my keywords.
Because it's all the rage. Mm-hmm. And so so things like you don't do any of the no's. It has that small town feel, even though it's sort of a suburb, but it still has that closeness.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I set it in Hollywood, Florida, which is a smaller town, and it's south of where I actually live, but it does have kind of a small town feel, and it's a smaller population, and you do run into the same people all the time, and that's why, I could discuss how the streets are named after famous people and how they do things in Hollywood.
Because it's a part of your life.
Yeah.
Just as Jamie being coincidentally an attorney specializing in family law.
Well, I did write about what I knew about. And I have heard a lot of crazy stories over the years of people getting divorced and what happens. And so,
it gives you write what you know, right? And I think that Jamie being in that position does lend to her getting involved in these things. It's not far-fetched. It's far-fetched.
You always have to suspend your disbelief a little bit.
But but in general, it's a good thing. Okay, so now we're going to get a little deeper. Are we ready to get deep?
Sure.
We start this conversation. Now, last time we spoke about cozy mysteries, it came up that not us, not you or I, so we're not taking any, blame for this, but some people said while reading your cozy novels that you have an intelligent character and that some cozy novels do not. Now, that's more than possible. There are cozy novels where the protagonist is probably not all that intelligent, but because some of them are women and some of them are older, many of them are older, like Jessica in Murder, She Wrote.
Sure.
Do you think there could be some misunderstanding or prejudice towards their way of doing things? Because
Well, I really, the older I get, the more I feel that if women want respect, we need to give it to ourselves. So I would never write a female character who does crazy things just for the heck of it. I mean, I think it's about motivation too. I mean, if you look at some of these stories, if the protagonist goes running off to do things, there has to be a reason. Like, I mean, why is she getting involved? Why is she even there? Why does she think she can do things without calling the police? I mean, to me, there really has to be, I mean, obviously you always have to suspend your disbelief for any story, but you don't want people doing dumb things for dumb reasons. That is annoying to the reader. It's annoying to me as a reader. And I don't like protagonists who are, female protagonists who just act ditzy. You know what I mean? I just, to me, it's not a character that's likable to me if they're ditzy or spacey or doing things that are crazy for no reason or going off on their own, thinking they know more than the police. I mean, I try to give reasons for why things are happening or why Jamie's in a particular place or why she even has an interest. I mean, each book, there's someone close to her that is involved in the mystery and that she wants to help, like her cousin or her boyfriend or, her client, so there's got to be a reason for her to even know anything about it or be involved. And so that's how I try to frame my stories.
so, like a rebel without a cause, a character without a cause is not going to come across as intelligent, and that is the writer's responsibility. Like, yeah, so when we talk about lack of intelligence, we're talking about the teenagers at a party going into the basement alone during a horror flick. Okay, so that is what they're saying when it comes to intelligence. To clear that up for people.
Sure.
It's not about the character themselves not being intelligent. It's about their actions.
Right. Taking crazy risks for no reason or doing things that make no sense. Yeah.
And Jamie would never ever do that because we know taking risks is not her thing.
No.
Which brings us to, and Brian, right on time with his question, is perfect. So we're gonna move up Brian's question here. Okay, so I was going to ask in my words. I know Brian, so I can do this. I was going to ask in my words. Jamie grows a lot as a character, like a lot, in the 6 books that I've read so far, and that is so important to a book. Did you plan that, or did it just happen organically? And Brian is asking basically the same thing. As a writer, are you a pantser or a plotter?
That is a great question. When I'm planning a story, I have the basic idea, this is what's going to happen. And I know the end, I know where it's going, but the middle's very mushy and things can happen and things can change. And sometimes I get very surprised, like with, Jeopardy in July, it's set at an old folks home and Jamie's in the lobby in the opening scene waiting for her clients that she's supposed to meet. And she strikes up a conversation. Well, actually somebody there strikes up a conversation with her. And he was just supposed to be sort of a funny little, aside. And he turned into a major character. At some point I got stuck in the story and I thought, Well, what about the guy from the beginning? He lives there. And he could really fill this spot. It's sort of like a painter with a palette, and you just say, what color can I use next? And then you say, oh, this one will work. And so I think that's also like, I don't know if anybody watches Supernatural, but it's like a quiver full of arrows, right?
I was going to ask you that because it comes up in your.
Yeah, I love Supernatural. So a quiver full of arrows, and so you can always pull one out and say, I could use this character for this role in this episode, and we can have a whole scene about him. So it's just choosing your tools. But I mean, I do always know where it's going to end up, but sometimes I'm not sure exactly how we're going to get there.
So you have the destiny.
Yes.
The destination, yes. But it's the journey that's the question. I think that's quite common in writing, is that, it's a dance, right? Plot.
Yeah.
What happens, plot, what happens.
Right.
So, yes, Supernatural. It came up. It was in my, I was going to say, are you a Supernatural fan? Because, Die Hard here.
Yeah.
Die Hard.
I've watched all 13 seasons.
Well, I kind of laid off for a while because it was getting kind of, but then I went back and it got better, and them's the boys, right? Like, you have to. So back to what we were discussing before. Susan agrees that the female main character gratifies the reader if her actions make sense. Otherwise, it's like, I can't even talk about it.
It's true.
Brian, again, does your training experience as a lawyer help with the skill set required to be a writer?
I think it does, because, a lawyer's tools is basically their words. I mean, their knowledge, but, when you write a brief, you're persuading somebody, or you're writing a motion, you're persuading the reader to accept your argument. And I think that every story is a persuasion. It's like, listen, I need you to believe that this is what's going to happen, and it makes sense, and this person is going to go this way, and that's what's going to happen. And so I think every writing is persuasion. But of course, I can't be humorous when I'm writing as a lawyer. And I much prefer to be humorous if I can.
You do it so well.
Thank you.
So yes, it is, when people say you're talking about your characters like they're real. Well, if you don't believe they're real and don't persuade yourself they're real, you're not going to be able to persuade them. So it starts right from your lovable characters. Okay, Barbara. Now I'm going to ask another question that is sort of about writing and the timing of your books. Now, as I said before, your writing is right now. Like, sometimes I've heard it said, oh, you can't go off, you date your book, you do whatever. And I'm just reading it going, oh, I love you, Barbara. You're just going for everything. The quotes, the everything. I am here in the now. Now, recently we had a different way of living back in 2021. And I noticed that your book, Malice in Miami, would have been written during that period because it came out in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at that time, I was thinking, and I'm sure other writers were, it's kind of difficult to write right now because you're thinking, but what if people continue to wear masks forever? Mm-hmm. Or what if they're just so upset about this, they never want to think about it? Like, how am I going to write about the now? Now, you chose to write about the now as if it was just nothing happening out there. You just went with it. How did you make that decision?
That was a very, very tough decision, because I was in the middle of writing that book, and I thought, things are so different now. Should I reflect that? Should I encompass that? And I decided that I remembered what a lot of readers have said in their comments to me, is that I read your books to escape. If I wanted reality, I could turn on the TV. I could get reality looking out my window. And so, I just thought, you know what? I'm writing this for me to escape, and I'm writing it for my reader to escape. I just feel like let's all pretend we're still, that, and it was a risk because I thought, you're right, we could have a different way of life permanently from now on. But, I just couldn't, it didn't make sense for the story, and it wasn't going to be pleasant for me to write it that way. And so I just thought, I'm just going to go for it, like, the before time or whatever, and pretend we're not in it. And then people can read it and not have to to get into it. Yeah, to reflect on what was troubling them. I mean, there were so many people that were in such bad shape that they really wanted an escape. And that's what I wanted to give them. And
So
me.
it
me.
is fiction writing, and even if things hadn't turned out as lovely as they have, people would still be wanting that nostalgia. It would be fantasy then, that life was the same. But it would still be something people would want to read as opposed to the truth.
I hope so. And I think you always write the book you want to read. I mean, someone asked J.K. Rowling once, do you write for kids? Do you write for adults? She said, I write for myself. I write the story I want to hear, the story I want to tell. And that's really what I'm doing. I just say I have to write the story that I want to write, and hopefully I resonate and connect with people.
Oh, I never even thought of that. I'm sorry, I've heard resonate and connect. Just Nico asked a question because it's such a natural thing in your books. I don't even think about it. But and I hope I'm saying Nico right.
You are.
Okay. What are your thoughts on including representation of different ethnicities, orientations, etc. in your works? Which I must say they just naturally flow into yours. So I
think it's important to include different people as you can. I try to make a little bit of an effort. I mean, I think my FBI agent is an Indian woman. My most recent book has a gay character in it, and my YA novel has a gay character in it. Spoiler alert! But I do try to. I also try not to hijack, experiences that aren't personal to me. And
that's what makes it complicated, right?
It is complicated. I can't say I know how people feel, walking in other people's shoes. I do try to be empathetic, and I talk to people who are in those positions or in that situation or in that group. And I do try, but, I'm not going to go out of my way to say, okay, we need someone from, category A and someone from category B and whatever. I mean, I do just try to incorporate them naturally if I can.
Well, in Florida, you have a lot of different ethnicities and people and a huge group. So it is natural in your books, which is why I've never even thought about it. But for them to come in because they are living there, they are there. But yes, in some other areas it would seem very purposely done.
Yeah, I don't want it to look forced. I mean, there's a Haitian artist in Engaged in Danger, but that, the child who was adopted is a mixed race child, and one of her relatives is looking for her. And so the artist in that book, who happens to be a relative, is a Haitian woman, a Haitian artist. And so, yeah, I mean, I try to, where I can, fit in the different aspects of living in South Florida, because there really are a lot of different groups here.
Okay. I'm going to address historical Niagara because I'm married to him. And Susan's okay. We already saw her comment. That's why we're not commenting on it. Okay. Here's a lovely one for you from Cynthia. She loves your books.
Aw, thank you. Made my day. Well, the interview made my day, but that made my day double.
And your day's going to get even better because Linda says she's looking forward to more.
Okay.
Like the 7th Jamie Quinn, right?
Yeah.
Linda? We all want to see that.
Yes.
Okay. So moving on. We have to move on. There's lots of stuff here, Barbara, although I could just sit with Jamie Quinn all day long. Now, Accidental Activists, Justice for the Groveland Four, that you wrote with Josh, is wonderful. And because of shortage of time, we did a long interview, including Josh, last time we talked. So if anybody wants a lot of background on there and to hear from Josh, just go to YouTube. Victoria Young Benison, as you see on the cover, and there it will be. Not trying to push the YouTube channel, just trying to push Josh, okay? because it was a great interview. So, do you want to give us a little synopsis on that, and then I have a question.
Sure. So, our son Josh, when he was in college, he read a book called The Devil in the Grove, and it was a Pulitzer Prize winning book about a terribly racist event that happened in Florida in 1949, where four young black men were accused of a heinous crime that they clearly did not commit. And they were tortured and beaten and murdered and incarcerated and convicted. And then Thurgood Marshall came to represent them and was able to overturn the conviction on appeal. So the sheriff took the two men out into a field and shot them. One of them survived, and he was reconvicted. And it was just, it was a terrible thing that because of whitewashing, we had heard nothing about. I mean, I'm a Florida native. I'd never heard about Groveland. And it took this author, Gilbert King, he got the FBI files reopened, and he did 5 years worth of research, and he wrote this book, and it won a Pulitzer Prize, and it became part of the curriculum, which may not last, but it did become part of the curriculum at the Florida University. Josh, our son, read it, and he was so just horrified and moved by it. He said, I really want to help these families clear the names of their loved ones who were all gone at that point. So, it had been like 69 years, and, nobody had been able to get them pardoned. Not even this Pulitzer Prize winning book had moved the needle. So when Josh said, well, I think I'll write a petition, I'll start a petition, I thought, well, that's really admirable, but you aren't going to move the needle either, right? I mean, so I helped him find the daughter of the youngest man, so Charles Greenlee's daughter, Carol Greenlee, and they teamed up and they started a petition. And Josh was always a stubborn kid, and I didn't realize how much his stubbornness was going to come into play, but he would not take no for an answer. And anytime he hit a wall, he would find another way around it. And it took 4 years, but eventually they were all posthumously pardoned. And it was amazing. And so we kept telling Josh he should write it down so he doesn't forget. And also, it was such a great lesson on how to be an activist. Here's a kid who doesn't have money, knowledge, experience, connections, nothing. And he got this done. And so finally, I said, okay, I'll help you. And so we co-wrote this book that doesn't tell the whole story, because that was told by Devil in the Grove, but it's really a primer for activism and how to be an activist wherever you are. I mean, pick a cause and go for it. It's amazing what you can accomplish, and how many people joined the fight, and how fortuitous some of the connections were. Someone popped up who said, I can help you do this, or I can help you do that. And it just seemed like the right person at the right time. And it got done. And then they also got exonerated. Their names were cleared after that. And it was amazing to see. I was so proud of him and so happy to be able to just see history being made.
And that, I think, as you pointed out, is the importance of this book. And this is definitely why I want to bring it up, because at this time, there's been so much going on in the world. And there is so much, but I've always thought, put it away unless you can do something active about it. If you can't take action, then, there's nothing you can do. And so this book, I think particularly for young people, it goes through, contact this person, even if you're afraid to, because they're this big, great, name, and you're just this, contact them anyways. It just go ahead, and it has every step along the way of what Josh did. So yes, it's the primer on activism and still living your life. Like, I want to go in. Josh has done this amazing thing that nobody was capable of doing. But now he's taking some time to live his life. Right?
That is true. He is true. Yeah. Yeah. But social justice is always something he wants to,
Mm-hmm.
work on. And, this was a really amazing thing that happened. And, but it shows you that anybody can do anything if you just keep, there were so many times they could have given up or said, forget it. And you're just like, it's just not an option.
So choose you. I would say the lesson is choose what you're going to do. Choose your instead of being overwhelmed by everything, because that's easy to do. Choose what you're going to do and follow through with it to the best of your capabilities.
That's it. Perfect.
So one thing to go. Okay, so that wasn't quite a question. That was more of a commentary, but I just wanted to put it out there because I think this book would be so helpful for so many people who are just lost and overwhelmed. And it's like, choose one thing and go for it, baby.
Yeah. It's inspiring because it's just like you just keep on going, and I think the thing is too, it's like if you hit a wall, you say, well, what's a different approach? What's a different thing I can do? And sometimes it was just a matter of timing. I mean, sometimes you just hit a wall and you just had to wait a little while, and then, but you have to always be open to the opportunities. Like, is this an opportunity? Is this can this person help with this cause? And you never know.
I mean, it's a lesson for life, really.
Yeah.
If you want to get somewhere, this is the way to go. Just ask for help. Ask anybody. And yeah, I would. Well, and it wasn't short. It took how many years for him?
4 years. 4 years.
4 years. When you're young, 4 years is a long time.
It is. Yeah.
It's like a lifetime. So,
right?
So stick with it and keep doing what you're doing.
Exactly.
Okay. Hi, Josh. Hope you're doing good. There it goes. Is there a place for social justice issues in fiction while still keeping the story readable? With Barbara? Oh, yes, there is. With Malice in Miami. She's being so good today. I'm not saying good. I mean, she's staying on topic is what I'm saying. Okay. So
yeah. Well, I think if you read Jamie Quinn, you would answer that question in the affirmative, because she's always trying to, throw in some social justice issues. In one case, well, her father is an immigrant who's trying to get his visa. And so that gave me the room to talk about immigration issues and talk about what people are going through, from the point of view of an immigrant. And there's there's a food bank involved and
environmental issues.
Yeah, environmental issues. Yeah.
So I would say that Barbara doesn't just think that there is room for one issue. There's at least 3 or 4 issues in that one cozy novel as it is, but never ever being preachy, because it's all part of the story, right? This is where the scandals and the things grow from. So, yeah.
I like to think my stories are readable.
That was, yes, they are. You wouldn't be here if they weren't readable.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
I have to, it's an integrity issue. And if I'm saying Barbara is a wonderful author, then she better be wonderful.
No.
And if she messes up, we'll have words. Okay. There'll be funny words, but we'll have words all the same. That was a great question, Brian. You brought in. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to move on from, because we're all over the place. This isn't if I appear to be overwhelmed, it's not my fault, it's Barbara's, because Renee is all over the place now. Oh, I love her. Okay, so now we're down to short stories, and in particular, which are wonderful, and in particular, your idea of flash fiction of 100 words, because I'm loving them. And the idea. Why did you choose? Well, first of all, explain a little, because I didn't do that very well. Do my job and explain what 100-word flash fiction is and why you chose to do it.
Okay, well, flash fiction is, for me, I've always used it as a writing exercise. Like if I have 100-word paragraph, I will challenge myself. Can you get this down to 50 words and keep the meaning? And because tight writing is really my goal. I don't want to meander. I mean, not to say there isn't a time to meander, but you can still have tight writing and meander. So I've always used it as an exercise. I think I started when I was helping my kids with their college essays, and I was editing their essays, and they would have 150 words, and then they would have 400 words, and I'd have to cut it. And so you just realize how you can change stood up to rose, gave in, capitulate. You can just find a better word, and always try to reduce 2 words to 1 or 3 words to 1. And so I used to do flash fiction for exercise, for writing exercises. And then I even entered some flash fiction contests where you had to tell an entire story in like 200 words, including the title. And it was fun for me. Like some people do crossword puzzles, some people do Sudoku. I like to just write a short story, a very, very short story. So then I thought, wouldn't it be fun to just start writing some flash fiction? And I have so many friends and relatives who keep telling me they want to write. And I said, well, anyone can write 100 words. So why don't we just do this for fun? And we started with Halloween, and we did scary shorts, and everyone had to write a story of 100 words with a Halloween theme. That was the only, parameter, was a Halloween theme. And my brother-in-law wrote a scary story, and some friends did. And, so my nephew did, and it was just so much fun. And so we said, well, let's do it for Christmas. So we did holiday shorts, and we had Santa Claus wearing shorts, and we did a bunch of 100-word stories. And so then we were like, hey, why don't we do Valentine shorts? So we did Valentine, and then we did Dog Days of Summer. So the theme was very broad. It was just summer. It just had to evoke summer. And I reached out to other authors I knew on Goodreads, and it was just like the most fun project. It really was. And to see where everyone's creativity took them. And some people, I had to say, this isn't really a story. This is just like,
but it is. I've read them, and there is a whole complete story there.
That's because I edited. And
okay, so
right.
You're saying there's particular, okay.
I sent some back. I sent some back and said, you got to make something happen. Something has to happen.
You were an editor.
I edited them, and I was very demanding, and it was hard because some of these people were strangers to me, like these Goodreads authors, and they were authors. And I said, well, I like the idea, but nothing really happens. I said, what if you did it this way, or what if you added this? And they were all very gracious, and they fixed it and changed it up and everything. And so it was so much fun. And I did it so that other people could also, get their name out there, because like our book is listed on all the author pages, right? Mm-hmm. And it was just a really fun thing to do. And I realized we needed more to really fill up the book, and I ended up writing like 60 of them, I think. And it was a lot of fun. And one day I'm just sitting in my room, and I had both closets open so I could see my husband's clothes and my clothes. And I said, wow, if you look at those clothes, we look like we go together. And I said, wouldn't that be a funny dating service if people just matched the clothes to figure out if they were compatible? So I made that into a Valentine story about that. A woman had tried every dating service under the sun. So she finally, out of desperation, tries the one where the lady matches up your clothes. To decide if you're compatible. Yeah.
I'm thinking there's some relevance to that. Yeah. That's a whole new business there you came up with in that short story, I think.
Right? I know.
I think. So we've established that you believe that concise writing is one of the most important aspects.
Well, I think I'd call it tight writing, because, you just don't want fluff that shouldn't be there. Right. I remember reading a story by an author I know who an author that everyone knows. And I don't know if she had a word count to meet or a page count to meet, but at one point she said, I showered and shampooed my hair. And I thought, did I need to know that? I'm like, unless you just got someone dumped eggs on your head or something. Did I need to know you shampooed your? I mean, she might as well tell me. And I use herbal essence, and you know what I mean. It's
Barbara
just
doesn't have time for that. No, neither do I. I think sometimes, we're building the writer is building the scene in their head, and then that scene is put out on the paper. But yeah, that's when the cutting and the tightness.
Right. Well, every book I've read on writing says every scene needs to serve a purpose, and it either needs to move the plot forward or introduce. I mean, develop your characters, or there needs to be a change. But every scene needs to serve a purpose, and I take that further to like every word should serve a purpose. I don't want to know if you're shampooing your hair unless it's relevant to the story.
So for the readers, flash fiction is fun to read, and that is something that you can read with your coffee in the morning, just for up. But it also hopefully will make that writer's reading that writer more enjoyable, because you're not taking time to read about what kind of shampoo they're using.
Right. I know. And flash fiction doesn't have to be 100 words. It can be anything. I mean, there's flash fiction, 200 words, 250, 300. I mean, that's still flash fiction.
It's saying it's up to 1,500 on the site, which is why I say 100 words, because I don't want people thinking this is like 1,500 words. No, this is being put off in 100 words, a complete story, and that does take skills. So check it out, try it. I mean, like you said, it's something anybody can write 100 words, and
it's fun.
It's fun just to, or like just as a writing boost, right? As a little remedy, because I'm sure a lot of people get bogged down in that same plot, that same story, day in, day out.
And a lot of people need to write for their livelihood. They writing is part of their, and to be able to write clearly and so that everyone knows what you mean without like saying, did they mean this or did they mean that? I mean, and to write concisely, it's an important skill for everyone to have, also to write persuasively, but you want to be clear and you want to be concise. And so I challenge anyone to take 100 words or 200 words that they've written and cut it in half. Like, see if you can condense it down, because punctuation is your friend. Commas help a lot, but it's such a good writing exercise. It really is. And it's important to be clear in your writing, and no matter what you do.
And hopefully, and it's more reflective of the communication we actually do in real life.
That's true.
Yeah, well, some people go on and on about their shampoo, and then you can still give a lot of information. Like, here you are, a woman who's like, tight writing, that's it, people, we're just going there. And you still dealt with a murder, relationship, 3 social issues, all friends, all in your last book.
And you know what? On the topic of shampoo, I am guilty, because at one point I said someone was freshly showered and their hair smelled like coconut. Okay, so I did use shampoo, I guess, but it was part of the story that they had just come from a very grungy job and had taken a shower and they smelled like coconut, because you want to bring smells and tastes and senses into things.
Atmosphere. It creates
right, but I thought that's more important than saying she showered and shampooed her hair. Anyway, that's just
my goodness, you do think about every word that you use. She's still thinking about that one. Should I have said it was coconut?
I'm obsessed with shampoo now.
Okay, so we talked about the 100-word flash fiction, the essays. We have a flash fiction in a comment. Okay. Every word is sacred, every word is great. If an editor removes anything, the author gets irate. But your guys didn't get irate when you showed them a better way. Which is the question: do you use? I don't know if you need to. You already took out all the words. Do you use an editor yourself, like a professional editor? Hire someone, or you've worked with words so much that.
Yeah, I don't use an editor. I edit as I go. Also, that comment, I do like haikus. I think that's excellent. it's an excellent exercise, and it's also poetry is good for the soul. So haikus are good therapy. But I don't use an editor. I edit as I go, and I just feel like there's a time where a word won't sound right to me, or a sentence, and I'll work it and work it, and then I really can't move on if something's not right. But if a word is wrong, I'll go to the thesaurus, and I'll get like 6 different words, and I'll put them all in and like hyphen, like, which one is this going to work? And then I might, if I can't solve the problem at that moment, I will walk away and come back, I'll go to the next chapter. And then every time I go to write, I read what I've already written. And then sometimes, the 24-hour brain, while I'm sleeping, the right word popped into my head, and I fix it so that I'm happy with it. But that being said, as I write, I have 3 wonderful sisters and a wonderful mother-in-law who are my readers, and they read as I write, and they'll all tell me, hey, I think you got a typo here. Hey, this doesn't make sense to me, or I'm not sure who we're talking about here. So they keep me focused, but they also keep me writing, because they'll be like, where's the next chapter, huh?
So you have a support team.
I do.
And you obviously have word skills and are obsessed with them. So this is your thing and right up your alley. So it's not okay. It's just a question I ask sometimes, because people are always, indie writing really is old, but it's also relatively new to a lot of people, and there are a billion books out there.
Yeah, I know.
And it's which ones to go to and which ones not to, and they want to know that they're doing their best for a professional job. And there's different ways of doing that, of course. And I will promise that Barbara's books are polished. They definitely are. She has just found her way of doing things, and I wouldn't mess with her way. Okay.
Wow, I even had Jamie. Remember, Jamie went off on the farmer's market and why there wasn't an apostrophe. Was it one farmer's market? Yeah. Was it all?
She's even criticizing bad grammar within her book. Okay. So,
well, I do have a book called Tea Time with Mrs. Grammar Person.
You do? Oh, right.
Yeah.
I have that. And actually, some of those rules are they stick with you. They stick with you, and you remember them.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of manners and grammar and all that is proper in this world, you write essays, and a lot of people, when they hear the essays, there then is a moan, because they just remember getting assigned essays and doing them on Sunday night as quickly as they possibly could, and whatever. So what do essays mean to you, and why write them, Barbara?
That is a really good question. For me, essays are always, I try to make them humorous. I think I would say 99% of mine are humorous. Some of them might be kind of a rant, but like what is the scale of pain when the doctors ask you for the scale of pain between 1 and 10? What is my pain to your pain? Is it an ant bite? Is it screaming? And I don't really understand the scale of pain, but I did try to make that one funny too. So I guess I just, to me, an essay is just, I have some thoughts on a subject, and I want to, or something has happened to me. It's always a personal experience, and but I think it's one that people can relate to, and they're all pretty short. It's not like, everything I write is short, but the essays are just, like the dinner party when I invited all my friends, and they all had different food allergies and different problems, and I kept tweaking the menu till it turned into an absolute disaster.
But yet that's relevant to all of us, because Christmas dinners or any kind of festivity that you invite the entire family to, it's not as simple as it used to be.
Right. I try to write about something that most people can relate to. Or something, I'll have a thought, I'm cleaning my pool. I'm in the pool, and then there's this tiny little frog stuck on the tile, and he can't get out. And so I give him my finger to give him a boost out, and he decides he likes my finger. So we clean the pool together. We just go around the pool, and he's sitting on my finger, and I'm just thinking about the frog. And then so I started doing funny stories about the frog. But then at the end, I was thinking, hey, this frog was going to eat mosquitoes that have diseases, and I know someone who had a mosquito-borne disease. I'm like, listen, you got to get off my finger. You got a job to do.
So yes, I can say that Barbara's essays are fun. Because Barbara is fun. So she has to put these thoughts somewhere. and, and we get to be the happy recipients of those words and those thoughts when we read her essays. So they are not boring. They are not because essays is having a thought and then proving that thought to be viable, right?
Yes.
And Barbara's life is having a case and proving that case is viable. So it's a natural outlet of creativity for her. And I think all of us, if we sat down and wrote out why we feel a certain way and looked for the proof that was there, not just what we wanted to be the proof, it would be better for all of us.
Yeah, I think writing is very good therapy. I think it's very good clarification for just your life goals or what you're feeling or what you're doing. And it helps you. I mean, therapists now say just write down what write down your feelings. And even if you're writing down negative things, it's helpful to you.
It removes the jumble.
Yeah, it clarifies. It's clarity.
It's a memory box, and it
Right.
puts it down, and you can burn it, but it just gets
Right.
out. Okay, I'm going to bring some attention to Linda here because I feel she is your sister, and she is bringing a lot of enjoyment to me by going through your work. So before, when I asked if Barbara had an editor, this popped up. I didn't see it right away from Linda. If only you had loving sisters to read chapter by chapter and help you edit. And then when Barbara did mention that she had loving sisters, that was aha. Thank you. So thank you, Linda, and other loving sister who and mother who bring reading enjoyment to me by checking out Barbara's books and making sure she does everything right.
Yes, that's right. They take care. They make sure it's all right.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Helen would like to know when you first discovered that you enjoyed writing. When did the bug start?
Oh, that's so funny. When I was in second grade, I wrote a poem about ducks, and the teacher liked it so much she wrote it out and put it on the wall. And I thought, hey, this is good. I like this writing. I was famous in second grade. I don't know. I've always kept notebooks and just wrote down ideas for stories, and I'll write a page, like the first page, I'll write a thought, I'll write a paragraph, and it never went anywhere. And then I started writing essays because I just thought, I could write an essay. And I enjoyed writing the essays, and then I self-published them. And, I always felt like if everyone, either no one reads it or the people who read it go, this is garbage, I could just take it down again. But the best compliment I ever got, I think, was some stranger read my essays and left a review on Amazon, and it said, this book really cheered me up when I was feeling down. And I thought, well, if I can connect with total strangers and make them feel better when they're feeling down, who could ask for more than that?
One person, one person. And I'm sure you made much more, but just knowing that you made a difference to that one person.
Yeah, yes. And then someone who reviewed some of my other books, she said, I just had the worst day of my life. My mother-in-law has Alzheimer's. I had to take care of her all day. I had no reason to laugh my entire day. And then I sat down and read your stories, and it made me laugh. And I want to thank you for that. And I was like, oh, that's what I want to connect. That is really why I write, is just to connect with people and, and give them a laugh, give them a smile, have them walk away, their escape from reality. Why not?
So I want. Okay, Helen. So you're just coming up with better things than me, people. So, what do you think? Helen asks, what do you think about the idea that there's a novel inside everyone?
Well, I think everyone has interesting stories to tell. I'm not sure. Writing is really hard.
It's work and
so
dedication.
Hard. It's so hard. You just, you get it's a skill. It's like no one sits down at the piano and expects to play Mozart, right? You got to learn how to play scales. You got to practice. And writing's the same way. No one can sit down and write. I certainly couldn't. I've read like 100 books on writing. I've, done a lot of I've read, thousands of books, and I've practiced writing. And I think, everybody can write something. I just think if you want to, you can do it. I mean, as far as novel's that's a hard thing. It's like saying, can anyone write an opera? I don't know. Because I can't write an opera.
No, I think you're right. And I think it's also unfortunate that we immediately go to book or novel or whatever, because there is essays, there are short stories, there's a million ways to use that writing to make yourself feel better and to benefit. Okay. Yes. Unfortunately, we have 5 minutes left. Because time goes so quickly here at Fika. And first of all, I wanted to say, Barbara did mention that when these people wrote her, it made her feel very good. And that, once again, is what I want to put out there, people. Authors are sitting there for days, working hours and hours on this piece of work, and they get very little feedback on it, right? Yeah. So write them. Write them on your Goodreads. She has an excellent Goodreads page. She keeps it up to date, and she keeps it going, and she answers questions. So go on her Goodreads page and tell her, Barbara, we love you.
Okay? Aw, and if you reach out and friend me, I'll friend you. No kidding.
She is a very friendly person. Also, I haven't read it yet, so I want her to tell us a little bit about Five Fortunes.
Okay. Yeah. I just had 2 books come out. One was Duck for Cover, which was just tales with a twist. I was aiming for O. Henry. And then Five Fortunes is a story I started 8 years ago with my niece. We were just brainstorming, and we said, let's write a story about 5 teenagers who get their fortunes from, a machine in the arcade, and how those fortunes change their lives. Like, not in a magical way, but in a way that some of them believe them, some of them don't. They start deciding whether these fortunes are affecting their lives. And so she and I started this book, and we cut out pictures from magazines of what the girls look like and what their backstory was. And then we kind of left it alone. And every once in a while I would say, hey, do you want to work on Five Fortunes? And it'd be like, yeah, maybe. But so finally I just said, you know what? I'm really daunted by writing about 14-year-olds, being 61 myself, but I will channel my inner 14-year-old. And I remember all the drama of friends and arguing with my mother. And I thought, I can remember what it's like to be 14. So I Googled what they wear and what they say, what they do. And I wrote a story about 5 14-year-old friends and what they go through with their fortunes and their lives. And it was a lot of fun to write. And I even got a 14-year-old who said she liked it and she was going to share it with her friends so they could all talk about it. So that was really exciting.
Fantastic. And it's a great premise, because things do get into our heads that make us. So maybe I'll have to try it. Maybe I will. Okay. And I want to send, Helen says, thank you for this interview.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
And I think, we're all saying thank you because it's so much fun.
Oh, I love chatting with you, Vicky. You're so much fun.
I have to bring people closer together. No, we have the little machines, and when you're close together, you never ever seem to have time to actually meet up for coffee or anything. Anyways, because everybody's so busy. So this is great. Get that next book done, and then I can bring you back. I can bring you back to talk about anything that you want to talk about, Barbara. So take care. And
thank you so much. This was so much fun.
I'm wishing you guys and Josh well.
Okay.
Always.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to say goodbye to Barbara now. Bye.
Bye.
And like magic, she's gone, and I am bigger than normal. Okay. Next week, our guest will be Rat Gervais, and for something different, he writes fantasy action. Fantasy action series. The Last Witch of Rome and Children of the Sphere. So I love The Last Witch of Rome because I think there should be a whole genre of female gladiators and warriors. I mean, I've been hooked on that since Cena. So until then, may your coffee be hot and your story sweet. Thanks for listening. everyone.